rise to speak on Cheaper Power Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2024, and the purpose of the bill is to provide almost $2.3 billion in additional appropriation from consolidated revenue to provide funding for rebates for power bills to support the cost of living relief here in Queensland households and businesses. The energy rebate provides $1,000 to Queensland households, $325 to small businesses, all of which will be applied automatically to eligible electricity accounts. I sincerely hope that eligible small businesses include sole traders as well. Also, why small businesses wasn't given the full $1,000 rebate is anyone's guess. The bill's documentation states that Queensland families are experiencing a higher cost of living due to global pressures. I've talked to people in my electorate, they are going back $300 to $400 a week. So I don't know how long this is going to go for some of them. And according to Queensland Treasury, cost of living support is a key priority for the Miles government, all of which is good to know, given Food Bank Queensland announcements earlier this year that more Queenslanders than ever are now reaching out for support and access to food relief. The charity has said finding people in secure rental accommodation, dual income families, mortgage holders experience food insecurity, sometimes going hungry, so missing out on meals, going whole days without eating. One lady in my electorate, 3 days she didn't eat. The soaring cost of electricity is putting an extra burden on families and small businesses, and my area, most of whom are already doing it tough. A small sugar hit to the community. If the government was doing its job, we would actually have an affordable cost of living so that we have this all the time. I remember 2 years ago, at least, farmers in my area were telling me they'd been forced to dip into their super to actually pay their soaring electricity bills and having to change what they eat and how they cook to keep bills down. Other people I've spoken to recently have taken eating cold foods so they don't have to use electricity or gas to heat it up. Sitting in the dark at night time, not watching television. Having grown up in Queensland in the 80s and 90s, reminds me of all the South Sea Island community.
There's too much noise going on in the chamber.
Thank you, Speaker. Having grown up, reasonably priced electricity is an expectation and what should be provided. And let's not pretend that this is just electricity costs that are skyrocketing. Rents, interest rates have skyrocketed as well, along with insurance costs, up to 30% per year are going up. Water costs, fuel, the lot, they're all skyrocketing. The fact that Queenslanders now pay some of the highest electricity costs in the world, and thanks to the Queensland Labor government and its fast-track green energy policies, like some of the hydro they're putting in our area, electricity prices are not going down anytime soon. And if the Queensland government was serious about sorting out the cost of living
can I
crisis,
please ask you to take your chit-chat outside of the chamber?
They would have been fighting hard on these issues every single day for the past 4 years. But we haven't seen any of that. After all, these cost of living pressures did not arise overnight, and Labor has not had many opportunities to address the issue and has consistently failed to do so. Now it's a sugar hit before an election. With electricity, it's about getting suppliers to actually deliver lower prices quickly. The critical short-term key is to get increased supply of wind working towards cutting prices, not, as it in the case today, cutting supply of baseload power, which then forces prices higher. So the stakes in this of this rebate are high, not just for the households benefiting from new policies, but politically for the Queensland government. The prospect of power outages during the cost of living crisis is not what you want just when you're facing an already unhappy electorate. Stakeholders raised issues in relation to the broad nature of the payment, recommending that the payment be more targeted to assist vulnerable households and those facing financial hardship. This would be difficult, I suppose, as firstly, the government would have to identify who is and who isn't facing financial hardship, something that could prove highly embarrassing, since I'm quite sure there are far more Queenslanders in dire straits financially than anyone in the government will admit to. And stakeholders already raised concerns that the payments will worsen inflation as the cost pushes influence. This is very doubtful. The amount will hardly be noticed by most middle to high income earners, and I consider it's unlikely to have an impact on their spending or inflation. Besides, the inflationary impact can only really be judged by how it was financed. And amid a massive overall increase in spending we are seeing in Queensland, this is impossible to dissect. Paradoxically, the government claims its universal rebate payments will reduce inflation. To say that more spending reduces inflation really seems a bit absurd to me. Meanwhile, the Queensland government is no closer to fixing the worsening price of electricity, which just keeps pushing interest rates, rents and energy costs higher, all courtesy of Labor's vision for transitioning Queensland into renewable energy superpower while pouring billions of taxpayers' funds into emerging new economy industries. According to the Treasurer, the rebates will be funded by our coal royalties, which last year amounted to some close to $19 billion. Queensland is fortunate indeed to have the coal industry allow us to be so generous to its population. It does, however, beg the question of what the future Queensland governments will do. According to a working paper by ANU's Tax and Transfer Policy Institute, royalty revenue from coal will never be replaced by royalties from renewable energy. What would be the point of extracting royalty payments from an industry that wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for massive subsidies from the government? The paper lists alternative options for other revenue-raising options, which include carbon pricing, electronic roads user pricing, wider use of progressive royalties, the use of industry levies as applied to Australian agricultural sector, and the generation of revenue from government co-investments. And there's a lot to unpack in all of that. But let's just say it's highly unlikely any future state government will nearly be so willing or able to dish out billions of dollars in electricity cost rebates to future struggling Queenslanders. Treasury also advised the bill was introduced on the 2nd of May 2024 to ensure funding for the cost of living initiative that can be appropriated in a timely manner, promoting transparency for this significant expenditure. Strange that they make such a feature of promoting transparency for this significant expenditure. It's almost an admission that transparency has been missing in action when it comes to all the other billions of dollars of significant expenditures the government has taken on in recent years. The phased timely manner also raises a question, two questions specifically. One, every Queenslander needs to ask themselves what and who has caused Queensland electricity prices to skyrocket? And number two, would the Miles Labor government be handing out $2.2 billion worth of electricity rebates if it wasn't up for re-election in a few months' time? Apart from all that, I have no doubt Queenslanders will gladly accept the help that they can get from the government at this time. And it's far from me to begrudge them from receiving a helping hand from their actual own money. So I do not oppose the bill, but I think the government can do better across the board. This is going to really hurt people in the future when it all comes home to roost. I think the whole thing is about good governance,
Members to my right, order.
All the time, that gives affordable everything right across the board, needs to be targeted on that respect as well. And thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Hello everyone, I'm Stephen Andrew, the State Member for Moranni. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on notifications to stay up to date with my latest videos. And also make sure to check out my other socials and my website links. They will be available in the description below. Thank you for joining us.